thanks to the She Media team. We have been great partners, and thank you for hosting us again. We did this panel last year and got renewed for a second season, so we're pleased about that. Thank you for your support. Hopefully, we were all shocked too, by the way, but thank you for your support. Really excited about this panel, and I'm gonna turn it over to our esteemed panelists in a moment. But what I just want to say is what makes this feel so good is that we all believe that comedy can be therapeutic, that comedy plays a big role in all of our lives. And I'm fortunate enough to be around comedy every day with the websites that were mentioned earlier. We do a lot of humorous and funny posts. We have the #1 humor network on ComScore. But even more importantly, the fact that we get to talk about it on stage today with some very thoughtful and funny panelists is what excites me the most. So we have Arielle Isaac Norman on the end here, Kandace Medina. And why don't we kick off the panel? We'll start with you, Arielle, just to give the audience an idea of your comedy life. What does like the last 2 or so weeks look like in your life of comedy?
Oh God, I live in the present, so that'll be hard. Let's see. That means I smoke a lot of weed. So that's what I meant. Well, so every week I have a show here in Austin at the East Austin Comedy Club. I call it the Gay Enough Show, which is kind of a marketing ploy to get gay people out. But because I book like a mixed show, but I'm on stage a lot, so I figure that's gay enough. And it's also like you can just book any woman because she's bi whether she knows it or not. So that's
facts.
easy to do. So I have that show every week, and that helps me because I do a lot of time on that show, and I can be very loose, and like I respond to whatever the comic before me said. I try out new material. So it's just a really good place for me to be comfortably able to try out stuff. And then also, because I do sometimes want to talk about gay or gender kind of topics, then the gay audiences like know some of the terms and things, so I don't have to over-explain all of that. Other than that, I would say I don't think I've traveled for stand-up in the last couple of weeks, but there are 13 comedy clubs here in Austin and a bunch of other independent shows, so I just do shows at the Creek and at East Austin and sometimes at the Mothership, and there's so many different places. So I've just been taking it easy, kind of doing shows and like working on my newest hour.
Great. Yeah. Kandace, you can either share the past or peer into the future and share with us.
I spend a lot of time in the future. It's called anxiety, and as Arielle mentioned, I'm not gay or straight. I'm just sad personally. So there's that, and yeah, past, present, future, whatever. I'm all amongst it. I think on multiple different dimensions. Not to brag, and I'm just kidding. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, I'm just a comedian here in town. I perform all over all the clubs. I do a little bit of traveling. I was just in New York, Chicago, and some other places. And my claim to fame in the city, besides being America's sweetheart, would probably be that I do run a weekly show called Banana Phone here in town. It is a heckle mic. Yeah, all right. Okay, couple people. Hey, what's up? Look, guys, got a couple groupies. Don't be worried about it, and don't be scared. And no, so it's a really fun little show. I ran it to basically make it easier for comics of all voices to be able to be more comfortable on stage. It's mostly open micers. The point of that is just to make them more comfortable. Like, it's the worst case scenario you could ever imagine. You do a minute of stand-up and then people just start yelling foul things at you. And I know it's kind of like concerning when you push that level of like what's offensive, what not offensive, but I think we'll talk about that more on the panel, get a little bit more deep into that. But it is one of the most communal shows because it's like a mosh pit. Like, you beat people down, but then you lift them right back up, and you are like, I love you, thank you for doing this, sorry about making fun of your hair, and you know what I mean, stuff like that. All right, no one's into it, that's good, and it's a cool show. We got two fans, that's good. Other than that, yeah, last 2 weeks I've signed my first little thing. I'll be doing an OnlyFans special, comedy, chill out. Still probably can't show it to your family, but that's okay. So I'll be doing that, and I'll be getting filmed here soon. Yeah, other than that, I'm just performing pretty much every night all over town, all the major clubs, just like Arielle, East Austin, Cap City, Velveeta Room, Mothership, Sunset, everything, all of the above.
Awesome. Great. So let's dive into some of the topics for the panel. And as we kind of break it down and talk about what comedy is able to do for us, there's sort of two things that we've talked about, right? One is comedy can be very therapeutic, right? It can ail or shield you from sadness, as it's done for me throughout my life. And two is it can destigmatize taboos, which is a mouthful to say, but really what we're saying is it can help you broach difficult topics, right? It can help break the ice when you're trying to talk to somebody about something that maybe you're not comfortable talking about. So if we took either one of those, and Arielle, I'll start with you, whether it's comedy as a therapeutic cure or comedy is something that helps you talk about things that are uncomfortable, can you share with the audience a personal experience that ties into one or both?
Sure. No, I mean, I really like difficult topics. I like controversy, and I'm a very politically non-binary person. That's actually the name of my podcast, if you want to check that out. But I do see things kind of from both sides, or like I kind of see everyone's point. And so I really like getting up on stage and one, like disarming people, because if there are more conservative people in the audience, they're going to see my haircut and jawline and make a lot of assumptions about my politics. And so I have to kind of address that but liberal people also assume my politics. So it's really fun to kind of like know people's expectations and then play with them and keep kind of bobbing and weaving about what I'm really saying and what my politics are. So in fact, I just remembered that last weekend I was in Fredericksburg, which I don't know if y'all would know, but they're quite conservative there, as it turns out. I just think of it as a cute little town you can go to, but yeah, they're pretty conservative. So they don't know a lot of the terminology about things, especially related to queer topics. But so then it's kind of fun to start educating them and to be the first person to ever explain to them all kinds of things. Also, in terms of therapeutic, I mean, I don't usually think of it that way. I definitely don't think of it as therapy for y'all. I mean, maybe for me sometimes. But I did, probably the most therapeutic thing that I've done is when one of my brothers passed away of COVID, I started really talking about that and that experience with kind of why he died and what his life was like, and really helping people to be comfortable with the topic of when someone dies who maybe the grief isn't as straightforward because they hurt people. And that was very, it's a difficult thing, but honestly, as long as you kind of throw punchlines in there and there's like joke timing, people just laugh. And so you're building tension and then releasing it. So, if you say things funny and you time it right, people will laugh at just about anything.
And Arielle, as you're workshopping those jokes in particular, is it any different for you than other parts of your routine that maybe aren't as personal?
I think when I started comedy, it was very easy to do a lot of sex jokes. And so for years, it was just like, I would kind of do whatever topics came to mind, but it was really, it's fun and easy to do sex and period jokes and stuff like that. And so in the last few years, I've gotten more political and more controversial now that I'm like very confident in my ability to do those kind of topics. And so I feel like now it's just like I usually am doing those political things, but then every now and then you just throw some of the sex stuff in there to kind of loosen people up a little bit, or kind of like take a break from that, release some of the tension of that.
Got it. And Kandace, how about you? Comedy as a form to break down barriers, talk about difficult topics. How's that been for you?
Oh man, so fun. No, it's good. I mean, first off, to Arielle's point, I do want to commend her. She's one of my first comedy friends in town, and she was definitely someone who I looked up to. And her ability to take something so controversial and like make it palatable is very enviable to me. In a similar way to her, to be able to talk about taboo things and be kind of therapeutic, it is this, I do like the similar style where it's like a Trojan horse, basically. Like, I'm gonna talk to you, you think I'm talking about sex and my pussy or something, but I'm actually talking about some very like intense, like maybe political things. I'm not as adept as you, is that the right word?
Sure, yeah, that's nice.
Okay, cool. And, oh, I shouldn't be up here. And so, there's nothing that I don't think you can talk about. My main focus in comedy right now is kind of working through the mental health taboo, more so than being more political. at times. So something I struggle with intensely is like mental illness, sobriety, things like that I've gone through in the course of my career. And what I find is it is kind of difficult to talk about higher concept or like more taboo topics like suicide or mental health or PTSD, these things that I'm going through, but to be able to make it palatable to not only connect with people that experience those things, but to also bring people to I was gonna say my watering hole. I can't say that, that's weird. Bring people to my watering hole to be able to at least listen in, and then hopefully if they haven't experienced it, to be able to see that point of view to help them connect with other people. And so that's something that's really important to me, and I think the biggest win for me in my career so far has been, even when an audience isn't 100% with me, the few people may come up to me afterward and say, thank you so much for doing, that suicide joke or like that sexual assault joke. Like it's the first time I've laughed about that ever, or in a long time. And so if I can bring joy from tragedy and be able to communicate that thought process to other people, that's the biggest win I can ask for, I think.
That's great. And I think one thing, yeah, please. I think one thing that might apply to everybody, even if you're not doing comedy or not on stage, is the notion of dealing with a difficult topic and what goes through your mind in terms of navigating that discussion. You mentioned it earlier that there's, when do you know when you've crossed the line, or how do you know how to just have that conversation? So if I just come back to you for a second on one of the difficult topics that you have discussed before, how are you thinking about just how to navigate? Because it is difficult. You're great at comedy. You're very funny. So you've got some confidence in your comedy. But as you said, that there's some anxiety in that as well. So how are you balancing what you can and can't say?
Oh,
Yes.
I'm an alcoholic. Okay. So I'll take 4. Come on, bring it up.
Yes,
I don't mean to make you feel bad. I'm totally cool with it. It's fine.
Thank you, Sam.
I work
Good
in
to see you.
comedy.
I'll
I'm
take-
surrounded all the time.
Thanks. Yeah. Yes, thank you,
Thank
Sam.
you so much.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Sam.
I sounded so ungrateful. I'm so sorry about that. That was so distracting as well. Back to the question.
So,
Yeah.
the question of how just in your mind, how are you navigating difficult
right.
topics and that fear maybe of crossing the line?
Yeah, so that's the thing is like, even as Arielle said, as you become more seasoned as a comic, you yourself become more comfortable. And the whole issue, especially for newer comics, is to be able to take someone through your thought process. I used to, as a comic, I want to talk about these like really tough topics like mental health, something I struggled with my entire life. Been sad for a long time, decades. And so I trying to get people there. And so what I figured is if you can just take them to little buoys to get them through your thought process, you can lead the horse to water. And so as you get more confident, it's taking these top subjects and then flipping them on their head, right? Like I'm able to take a suicide joke that I've worked on for a very long time and compare it to like a pyramid scheme. You know what I mean? Like you would never think of those two things going together, but it is one of those things. You take something familiar and you try to spin it in the way that makes sense in your brain and to get people on that same page. For instance, it's like hopefully this joke works or else it's gonna be so freaking embarrassing, is, because it is. It's like, telling people you want to kill yourself is like telling them that you're in a pyramid scheme, like everyone always tries to talk you out of it without hearing any of the benefits. You know what I mean? Like so this is what I'm saying, right? Like you're taking something familiar, you're like, making fun of it. It's relatable in some way. We've all been touched in some way by mental health, and I think it's a fun way to talk about it and still connect through joy versus the tragedy of those things. Yeah. So I think it's finding that route. I don't know if that's a helpful answer to be able to navigate. I just, it just comes to me. I don't know what to tell you.
And Arielle, how about for you, just in terms of the difficult topics you discuss, how are you navigating what's comfortable when maybe you've crossed the line or that kind of danger area of...
Yeah. I mean, and I think this applies to everyone because when you're trying to get someone to hear your perspective, then it's that kind of, usually you would do that, seek first to understand and then be understood thing. And so, but you can't exactly do that when you're the only one talking on stage. But what you can do is, I do crowd work sometimes, but what you can do is like if I want to talk about something like the over-medication of everyone in this country, but especially children, I'm going to talk about that in terms of puberty blockers because that's something that's really contentious and controversial and will get people's attention. I have a great joke to get into that. But way before I get to that, I'm going to be telling all kinds of jokes about my own gender. I'm going to tell all kinds of jokes they're putting out there, like my support of trans people. Just you're kind of like, but playing with it. So most of my bits are such that I could tell them to any audience. I want it to, because I don't want to assume, oh, I can tell everyone here is liberal, or I can tell everyone here is conservative. Because even if they are 90+%, one thing or the other, there's always going to be some people in the room who then could feel like, oh, fuck, like everyone is something else besides me. I want everyone to be able to get it. So I kind of bob and weave, and I don't, instead of like ever going for clapter or kind of doing that thing where I'm just hitting one side of it, I'm always kind of going to make fun of this side and then make fun of this side. And then, so by the time I get to something where I'm discussing how, like, the idea that we would trust the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry to be responsible about the medication, in this case, when they've failed us about OxyContin, they failed us about ADD meds, they failed us about SSRIs that they give to 7-year-olds. So once you've already built all the trust up, then you can start making these jokes that if I started with that, people would walk out.
Yeah, it's a great point, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And in terms of Arielle, your creative process, so I mean, obviously when you're on stage, that's a creative outlet. Are there other things you do, other inspirations you have that kind of help you with your comedy or help you with your craft?
I mean, sure. So I do have my politically non-binary podcast. And honestly, I wish that I had more time to sit down in the morning and write. I used to do that every day. I've gotten super busy. But most of my process is getting high with friends and then writing stuff down.
You be doing that later, both of you?
Yeah, dude, whatever. We got a cool sponsor. Check them out.
She's not sober. She's California
I'm cool.
sober.
I'm so cool, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Not to put anyone out if you are like 100. I was for a while. All right, but sometimes you got to check out, and I talk about that in my comedy too. We're all human. I'm from somewhere else. I don't know. In the sky. We probably will get high after this for sure. Business first, party later.
Yeah. And creative outlets for you, Kandace, similar? I mean, we know one of them.
Yeah, dude, I love to blaze it with my. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm very so that's like something I do struggle with, and I do talk about that and a little bit in comedy. Is I am an obsessive person, and I do commit a lot. I'm very hardworking. I'm very hard on myself, but that is something I'm working on, is the outlet, and trying to find some other avenue that isn't this all-consuming thing where I'm like, I have to be the funniest person on the earth or I will die, I've been trying to work out. And a lot of these today. Yeah. Running and stuff like from my demons, and that really burns a lot of calories. And so I've been doing that, trying to build time. So this is the biggest thing in any industry, I think, and especially in American culture, is the tendency to overwork, right? We're such a workhorse society, and so I, just like any industry, even if I'm working on a creative art, I am 100% always working on that, and what you're doing is basically killing the thing that you love, right?
Yeah, all work and no play.
All work and no play makes us bad boys.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty
Anyways,
close.
Yeah, that's what I said. And so the thing that I'm really proud of myself in the last few weeks, besides like going to the mental hospital and getting that worked out, I would say would be that I'm finding time to make intentional time. It is so hard. It's so hard for any of us, no matter what job you're doing, but you cannot work 100%. You cannot be 100% creative all the time. Your brain needs time to function and take a break. So I'm forcing myself, no matter how much I don't want to like take either a forced day of like just do absolutely nothing, like be like that girl that's like melting in the Dare commercial. Like I'll do that. The drugs aren't necessary for that. I'm just saying. You could just veg out, fine. Or I will take a literal forced break from comedy where I will not book shows. I'll say no to things, and as much as it hurts me and I feel like I'm missing out, it actually is helping in terms of being able to recruit and take time for myself to be able to be 100% on stage and be creative and all things I need to do for my job. So. Yeah.
And what about you on that front, Arielle, in terms of challenges or things that you're trying to kind of overcome day to day? It sounds like all work and no play is a little bit of that for you as well. Is there something else in terms of
Yeah, no, I
challenges?
mean, it is true. Like, so for the first 7-8 years that I did stand up, It is extremely competitive, and we'd go up 4 to 7 nights a week, 3 or 4 times a night. We would be doing open mics and whatever, and writing every morning, and plus my jobs that I would do. And so I remember, because I used to have a podcast where I would get advice from more seasoned comics, and one of them who'd been doing it for about 15 years said, he waited until 12 years in to finally take care of his health and take rest and all that. But it really is hard, because you have to kind of try to get that 10,000 hours. You have to, make all the connections. You have to learn how to be on stage. And so it's only been in the last couple of years that I've started really having that time to be like, okay, I can do comedy 3 nights some weeks. I can say no to these shows that I don't want to do. I need to have a friend night every week. I need to start doing, I'm going kickboxing again. So it's hard, because you really do have to pay your dues. And then at some point you also go, fuck, I have to be caring more about my friendships, my relationships, my health. I have to be getting sleep. But so I have been really focusing on that now. And I did 6 months off doing van life. I did almost no comedy for all of that, and it helped me. I got my attention span back. I got into a place where I could realize, I came back and immediately was asked to do a high pressure show with famous comics, and I crushed it. I'm like, okay, it's okay to take some time. I got this.
Yeah, I remember that, actually, you coming back and it just destroying, and that's always a really great feeling to have for your friends, and so I'm really glad you got that time. I don't know why I'm making it so personal.
That's very sweet.
We need to go to the back.
Question for both of you, and we can start with you, Kandace. I'm curious if, with all the stage time you have, all the comedy that you do, you workshop it and you try to hone the skills as much as you can. I'm wondering if you can talk about a time that maybe you had an unexpected breakthrough, or you were dealing with a difficult topic,
yeah,
and you thought it would go one way,
okay,
went another way, either for the better or worse.
Yeah, no, that's actually great. I mean, that's a lot of comedy, is you sometimes are just so blinders on. You're like, I'm gonna work this, and then one day you just kind of take a moment from it, and that's the point of the break, is you table something, you come back, and you can do it. I think the most breakthrough time was, again, another mental health joke. That's all she does. Such a pervasive problem. We're all scared. I would say there was this moment where it is kind of the level of patience you have to have in this industry, even though everything in you and everything in society is telling you go, 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 now, or you'll fall behind. This was one of those moments where I had written in my notebook just emotional edging. I just know that I wanted something to do with that term. Sat in my notebook for 2 years, and then I was having a conversation with someone about Girl Scout cookies or something, and then I was like, oh, I got it, emotional edging. It made sense to me, and I was able to stack those jokes next to each other. It has to do with the MLM joke I talked about earlier, the pyramid scheme, but then also, again, it's that Trojan horse-esque way of my comedy of I'm talking about edging. You think it's going to be a sex joke. Psych, it's about emotional edging. You know what I mean? You bring yourself to the end, you know what I mean? But you don't.
I don't think they do know what you mean, but
okay,
I feel
Sorry about that. Instead of bringing yourself to the edge of getting yourself off, you bring yourself to the edge of offing yourself. So that's the holdover from the emotional edging, right? And then you get more people involved, make it kinky, a couple of friends tell I'm not doing too well. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So you guys get it. So I would say that was one of the biggest breakthroughs, because that joke was so hard to sell. It took me, even after writing it, finding it, making it work in my notebook, it took me an additional, over a year to really hone that joke, to make it palatable, to make people understand me. But I still struggle with that joke, but I don't back down, because I know how important it is to communicate that idea for everyone else who's feeling that or has experienced that in some form. And it is healing. That's one of my jokes that people come up to and talk about. And so it is important to take that rest, to give yourself space, to put a pin in something. If you're in the corporate world, circle back. You know what I mean? So
They got that one.
Yeah.
That one.
You guys feel me?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Let's cool. Follow up later.
Yeah. Arielle, how about you? In
Best
terms
regards.
Of, an unexpected surprise.
I mean, it happens all the time. Like
Yeah.
Kandace was saying, sometimes you work on something, put it away for years, and come back and go, oh my God, like, and I crush. And sometimes I could even say the exact same thing, but now I'm crushing with it because I know I have that confidence. But you know, the one experience that I had was with an ex of mine. I literally asked her one day, like when her boobs got to be as big as they are, because they were like a full C, and I was just wondering what kind of childhood she had. That was all. Do you know what I mean? Like how it affects you if you have big boobs as a kid. And so, but that was the moment that she told me that like a few years earlier when she was still dating penis people, that she's got to be precise. That she had gotten pregnant, and then 6 or 7 weeks later she'd had an abortion, and so small titty like hack if anyone. I don't know. Did y'all know that the hormones fill them up, and then if you get rid of, you can still keep the boob. You get free mom boobs, and I just putting it out there. But in reality, like that was a moment for me. Yeah. I know you thought you supported Planned Parenthood before, but and it's like one of the punchlines is like, a lot of women are complaining that $500 is more expensive than abortion should be, but for a boob job, that's a steal. So, but the thing about it is, when she told me that, I literally was like, I had a whole moment of emotion in my body because I've only ever dated vagina people. I've never had that kind of worry. No one in my family. I've never been close to anyone who ever had an abortion or really reckoned with that. And I was raised Mormon. And so this was like this feeling of like, oh my God, like I don't know if I'm like okay with that. But then at the same time, I was like, oh, these titties I love so much. And so I wrote a whole joke that really like it goes into examining like my feelings in that moment and how difficult it was for me, and then I end it in a very crude way, but still I think it helped me to have, because I've always been, like I said, had empathy for both sides of things, and I'm very like pro-abortion rights, but it helps then when I do that bit so that if there are more conservative people and there are people who are a little like about abortion, they can hear me really talk about my discomfort with it, and then how I ultimately came to be like, oh, of course. I mean, it's like something about her dead baby living on through me, because, something about that. Don't even worry about it.
That's the Holy Spirit, baby.
Yeah.
Sorry. I can't turn it off, my bad.
Yeah.
It's recorded,
Well,
isn't it?
we are theoretically running out of time, but we're also the last panel. We're the last panel, so we can go on Joe Rogan style for hours, which I already said we could do. So I do want to give the audience an opportunity to ask some questions, but before we do that, just with both of you, because we are so thankful that you're part of this panel, what can the audience do to support you? If you had your one or two things that you want everybody here to do for you, what would that be?
Well, I'm already doing a lot for you guys, so what I would say, if you want to pay it forward, I got a few things on the list, one of which being the best way you can support me is through social media. The way that comedy works now is not just being funny, you have to have followers to get people in seats these days. Hate to be that person, but don't worry about it if you don't want to, no pressure. I'm a woman, I'm never going to be like, do it, you know what I mean? I'm going to be like really kind about it. So if you wanted to, no worries, no pressure. You can follow me on Instagram. It's listed there. It's @ChunkerNugget. So the Nugget has a K, silent. It's for me. I'm Kandace the K. If you guys had to see that, curator.
Oh, that's what that's about.
Yeah, curator of vibes as well. Official title. And so that's a big one. I would say we have a show together called Backyard Sluts. That's really amazing. Yeah, we have a few fans of that. What up? It's a backyard pop-up show. It is the most Austin show you'll ever have. We've been doing it for years, 6 years or whatever. And it's a pop-up show. It's about sexual health, mental, like everything you can imagine, taboo topics to the extreme. Like
Jello wrestling.
We Jello wrestled. Like it's a whole thing. It's so much fun. I can't go into more detail because it's crazy. But you can always follow that page. Our original one, Backyard Sluts, got shut down by the government. So they try to silence us for soliciting sex, and we weren't. It's a comedy show, so you can follow us now at Backyard Slits. Which is somehow better. Our backup will be backyard slots, so there's
Yeah.
that too. And then I would say there's a couple other things. I'm so sorry, I just never get this opportunity to talk to so many people are with me. You know what I mean? You guys are with me. You can always check out Banana Phone every Sunday at Creek in the Cave. It is one of those shows that does push the line of taboo and offense. So if you're kind of oh, I don't know, we do self-police. There is a line. We always find it, but it is a really fun and communal show where nobody is safe, but at the same time we are all safe because we are there for each other. That's a really fun one. And I think lastly, I think that's basically it. If you guys want to come out to my OnlyFans recording, I'll be doing that. It's a special. Again, I need to hammer that home. It's
No
not just me
stripping.
at my house or something. Guys, I can get you all in here. It's gonna take. We're gonna make it in 6 hours. Okay, I would say come to that. It should be on the 25th of this month at Creek in the Cave, unless they change it. Ugh. And that's it. I think that's everything I want to say.
Sure. Yeah, a few things. One is the Politically Non-Binary podcast, if you guys would check that out. But also, I have a special coming out. My first special is coming out on April 4th. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do a whole round of applause. I always like that. And it'll be called the same thing as my Instagram and my OnlyFans. It's called Ellen to Genderless. I thought it was neat. With a subtitle about how please don't sue me, Ellen. But anyway. So I'm the worst because I don't know. I think the best thing to do would be to follow me on YouTube at Arielle Isaac Norman, and then that'll come out. Yeah, so that, and then just follow me on Instagram, and I think you like a bunch of posts so that then they actually show you my stuff. Do you know what I mean? Is that the way to do it?
Yeah, just go
Yeah.
comment,
You
save
like.
send it to your friends, keep commenting, leave it on loop for hours.
Yeah,
Whatever
exactly.
you guys, no pressure, you know what
And
I mean? Whatever.
if any of y'all want to subscribe to my OnlyFans, which is a comedy OnlyFans, thank you. The thing is, I post comedy content on there that I don't post anywhere else, but most of the people who follow me on there got there because OnlyFans is promoting our comedy specials on there. And then, so it's mostly dudes sending me dick pics. So they do have to pay every time they send it to me, and I don't click on it. So, but I would love something other than idiot men following me on there who actually appreciate my comedy. But anyway, yeah.
I'm so sorry to do this. I forgot one. This is kind of big. I just started a podcast. We got 8 episodes out. It's called Gargirls. It's a play on gargoyles, but it's Gargirls. And GARGYRLS. It's me and another fellow comedian, Heather Keith, and it does also talk a lot about women's issues, but kind of not pushes back against necessarily, but kind of makes a little satire of some positivity movements. We're still in that movement, especially with body positivity, whatever, but it's also we're going to make fun of ourselves. Come on now. So that's a really fun podcast, especially if you like that kind of girly stuff. It's like a sleepover type thing. And we do magic, witchcraft, and that's how I got these scars, honestly. It's a long story. But other than that, check it out if you like witch stuff, I guess, or just, talking with gals.
Awesome. Well, Kandace and Arielle, thank you very much. We are now very much over time, and I know they're going to kick us off stage here. So let me just say this. If people do have questions, it's great incentive for them to follow you on Instagram.
So true.
And then ask you a question, which you'll gladly answer once you get a follow, right?
Yeah, or if you want to, I give you my number out. I won't do that. I'm so sorry. But if you need a friend, you're I'll do it.
Or after the panel. But really, thank you for the work you do. Thank you for sharing your stories with the audience. It is some of the best stuff happening. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys so much.